Welcome back to Nonsense, I'm Chris, and was killing MIT Rick Morty's plan the entire time? It's easy to not view this as a super canon episode, but if you put it in that context, this is actually the most canon episode for Morty Prime ever, solidifying his turn into his own version of what evil Morty is, just a softer one, kinda like our Rick compared to Rick Prime. It would have been cool to see Morty create his own portal device like a lot of people were theorizing, but I would argue this character step is actually an even bigger deal than that would have been. So let's break the episode down, starting with the title, the first title ever to not have some pun, including either Rick or Morty's names. Literally just the name of the movie, which, as the story structure goes, I'd say there's no real connection, but the themes of like healing from past trauma and reconciliation, as well as just the basic listening to your heart over logic, are what are at play in this episode. Which, despite not featuring Rick much, is actually mostly about Morty's relationship to Rick, the same way the movie doesn't feature the dad much, but is largely about the protagonist's relationship with his father. We'll get to the themes as they come up though. The episode opens on an exploded Rick and Morty, who ate the spiciest chili ever made, lots of details in this opening scene. Jerry's a charred husk, Beth's body is fully exploded, Summer is weirdly just decapitated, and Rick's legs are up here while Morty's are spread across the lawn. It kinda seems like he was entering a chili contest maybe? Estate sale Rick portals in wearing a traditional circus ringmaster's outfit that I love. He announces the estate sale open and a bunch more portal in, my favorite being the ninja Rick and Morty up here. We also have a TV head Rick and Morty, which might be connected to the TV head character we get a glimpse of in the President Curtis spin-off trailer, but we'll see. We've got red Cyclops Rick and Morty, bathing suit Rick and Morty, wonder if they've also got a pool, and Rick with the Cyclops visor, and Morty in what looks like a mechanized rice cooker, four-armed, three-eyed Rick and Morty, black Rick and Morty, and fish head Rick and Morty. Our Rick and Morty portal in and head into the garage where we see a Lucha Libre style Rick and Morty, a janitor Rick evaluating a broom. They're all claiming stuff with nondescript sticky notes, and everything is standard garage stuff. The seat and the lampshade, everything are the same colors and designs as usual, same with the shelf contents. The one major difference is that the poster that is usually in Morty's room is here on Rick's door instead, and this wet Morty is very excited that his wet Rick is claiming it. Morty annoys Rick, who says,
"Go practice your pronouns."
And I do want to clarify for the few looking for incel Rick to be inside C-137 that he is not making fun of the idea that people identify as other genders. He fucks planets, multi-gender aliens, and borderline gods. He cares so little about gender that the idea of being obsessed with its labels is ridiculous to him, is at least what they're clearly aiming for. Rick wants the spinning platform, and we can see someone even claimed this light fixture. He claims the platform while Morty explores his bedroom, finding a pretty standard room, except for the blank spot where the poster from downstairs should be. So I guess this Rick took it from Morty, which is kind of funny. Ninja Morty and Fish Morty wrestle for a snorkel, which is funny because...
Why do you need a snorkel?
Morty keeps walking, and we see the only sticky note with writing that says property of TV head Rick on a TV carried by TV head Rick and Morty. Sunglasses Morty talks to him, saying he's bummed everyone's dead because he's here funeral hopping. They walk past some normal Ricks and one with downed hair and a proper moustache, as well as a bottle of space Tabasco. Morty is interested in funeral hopping like Sunglasses Morty in order to hear his family say nice things about him, so he tells him to find this universe's Morty's Portal Gun Jr. with cool portal marbles instead of fluid, which seems to be a more stable form since nothing happens when they spill. There's also more beans back here. This family was clearly obsessed with chili. This business Rick claims the family rake. The Sunglasses Morty finds the junior portal gun for Morty, and we see they were dicing fresh onions and peppers back here for the chili before he portals away, revealing his sunglasses are his eyes, and there's also a fully robot Rick and Morty back here going through the fridge, which is kind of funny. They skip the theme song, another way this episode is incredibly unique, and we cut to them in the garage while Rick enjoys his new spinning platform and this hyper-specific motorcycle Rick bought, clearly a Harley Davidson Springer Softail, which is a collector's motorcycle. They don't just turn these out. Morty actually comes to Rick for advice and asks if funeral hopping like Sunglasses Morty is a bad idea, which Rick kind of says is a bad idea, but refuses to fully engage, page, instead landing the best one-liner of the season.
I'm asking for guidance! Do whatever you want. It's your funeral.
And I honestly think this is kind of a growth moment for him, because he did first let Morty know it wasn't the best idea, but instead of trying to force the lesson on Morty aggressively like he usually would, he's basically giving him his opinion but telling him he's his own person. Honestly, not a terrible way to handle any question like this, so Morty portals into what seems like a generic Morty funeral, but turns out to be in a Longleg universe, reminding me of This Always Sunny scene. It turns out Longleg's Rick microwaved his Morty, and Longlegs Jessica kisses Morty on the cheek, solidifying our Morty's interest in funeral hopping. He goes to a Bread Morty's funeral where the gravestone says burnt and the picture says he's toast, then a VR-obsessed universe with a game called Morty's Clone, another called Sequel, and a game called Sequel Part 2. The family's crying, experiencing the funeral in VR. There's some kind of funeral ID up here. I don't understand what I'm looking at here. Did some googling, but I could not find anything similar looking. This Rick's shelf is full of memory VR experiences, including Summer, Crayon Art Volume 1, Invasion, Riding a Bike, Summer Vacation, Haircut, Cyborg, Hacking, Laser, Kindergarten, First Grade, First Tooth, Started Walking, Potty Training, First Birthday, Kidnapped, Drugged, Robots, Clones, and Adventure. And lastly, something starting with an E or a B and ending in a D or O and S for Rick. This whole memory storage feels very Black Mirror. Then this crazy gothic type universe funeral, a Frankenstein universe where they pull his body apart to use in other people, a universe with balloon plant life where they inflate the dead bodies to float into the sky and slowly decompose up there. Then he finally gets to this episode's primary universe where the Morty went by Mort. Inside, we see this crazy Jerry giving a nonsensical speech about his Morty, but he says it with gusto, so those of us prone to falling for that will have thought he'd sounded great. The picture is him in a Letterman jacket, and the slideshow starts with another one. It also includes a shot of him rock climbing, which we later learn is how he died, a shot of him getting some shoes for Christmas, and a shot of him playing baseball, kind of a Field of Dreams reference, I guess. It just cycles through those shots for the remainder of the scene. Jerry gives his impassioned speech about his athletic leader Alpha Mort, and we already get our first hint at how possessive he is.
I loved him because he was mine!
Later at the grave with family's dog, Chesterfield, I checked the graves, no puns or references. One is named Hubble, but the dates don't match the spacecraft or the guy it's named after. Chesterfield runs to Morty though, and the family freaks out upon discovering him, being unaware of portal travel, so we cut to them at home as Morty just explained everything. There's a picture of Chesterfield instead of Snowball, of course, but also a picture of Jerry instead of the flowers that are usually there. The family is mainly just happy Morty is here, and explain that here, Rick is an alcoholic, not realizing that that's true everywhere, but here Jerry kicked him out for it. We cut to them literally watching Field of Dreams, the movie. You could even see the DVD case here. Bunch of cute family pictures, and they seem to have been playing a board game of some sort. Pretty cool lamp here, picture of Jerry and Morty fishing, but he realizes he has to head home before the family starts worrying about him. They tell him to come back anytime, and he portals home to see Jerry stuck in his shirt while Summer streams it. Beth is hammered drunk as usual. Rick is working on his platform and has improved it, but it pulls Morty up by his implants. Later that night, he can't sleep, so he visits the other family, who are obviously very happy to have him over. Morty references Snowball's episode this season, saying,
My dog enslaved me, but not this one!
We cut to them at a hibachi grill as Morty tells them a story where he's temporarily blinded and has to get a new body. They get upset about it, and Jerry asks what Morty's dad says about Rick letting him die over and over. So we cut to our Jerry trying on a new long sleeve shirt and hat as he sings about being Mad Men, because he's in the ad business now, and honestly, weirdly, the entire episode can be summarized by this moment with Morty. Like, he now has the base power that Rick has, being able to pursue whatever he wants through the step of a portal, and the cycle is he is not satisfied with what he has, portals away in search of something better, only to wind up back where he started and still unhappy. The same cycle our Rick has been trying to escape from since the beginning of the story. But anyways, he does some woodworking cooking, making an owl while Jerry makes a table leg. We see the picture of Jerry, who is ripped in this universe, and his dad at the cabin they go to, and it's cool. He turned the garage into a wood shop, honestly. He invites Morty up to the cabin, and they head out, driving the classic pickup to the cabin, which is pretty generic. Some skis up here, cool bear lamp, and the one real Jerry item, the talking fish head up here. Jerry uses a flint and steel to start a fire, which is not that hard to be clear. He acts like it's a really big deal. Got a mounted deer head up here and an owl. Maybe Mort caught that? He seemed to like owls. They grill some T-bones, and afterwards inside, we see another picture of them as Jerry tells the story of Mort falling to his death while free climbing. We can see he's already separated Morty from the portal gun. He cries, we get another family portrait, and I gotta say, for all these family pictures, and the fact that Mort was clearly terrified of Jerry as they're about to reveal, they could have made Mort's expressions in the pictures a little more fearful, but whatever. Morty says he wants to be this Jerry's son, and they hug. He gives Morty the portal gun and says to break it because he doesn't need to leave anymore. When he hesitates, not refuses, just hesitates, Jerry nabs it back and breaks it. The marble's spilling out but not doing any damage. He hugs Morty, who pushes off of him. From this angle we see the saw that he and his dad were using in that old picture, and some bird watching binoculars, I assume. He dives after Morty, who lunges out the door as he screams about how he needs to prepare him to never die like he did for Mort, who again did die. A cool owl watches as Morty runs away. Jerry can't find him, and he instinctively goes to a little lean-to it turns out Mort built. Morty goes through his backpack and seems excited about the candy bar. In his journal, it at first just tracks his lifting journey. It also says he took Jessica out to ice cream and that they hooked up at a planetarium. Jerry also is pressuring him to join the cross-country team on top of lifting and everything, finally saying he wants him to free solo El Capitan, a real place in Yosemite, and definitely not something someone who isn't like an adult professional climber should be doing. It also says he wants me to be able to survive anything. My only hope is to run away, maybe go stay with Z? Who is Z? I don't know. He has a place on campus. He says I can sleep on his couch for as long as I need, plus I have my lifeguarding money. I just need to figure out how to get away from Dad before we leave to Yosemite. Unfortunately, he did not succeed and died on the climb. We cut to Morty researching Rick at the library next to a dude watching stuff I think most libraries block now. He buys a ticket from the guy Jerry talks to later and takes a bus ride to MIT where Rick works in this universe. He finds his class and sits in, seeming happy to see him. We cut to him shoving Morty with a derp face into his office and rambling that he knew portal travel and the central finite curve were real. He pulls out a box of multiverse stuff, kinda reminds us of the time travel stuff box, but he had to put this away so he wouldn't lose his mind. Whereas I guess now we know that the time travel box is actually a trap for aliens who want time travel tech. But Morty asks him to make the portal gun from his own blueprint so he can go home. This Rick says he almost lost it over building the portal gun last time, so he shouldn't try again. He then realizes he's late for his AA meeting and invites Morty along. No familiar faces in the crowd, but they basically just establish that Rick is a recovering alcoholic who's been fully cut off from his family and that his big trauma was losing Diane. But he doesn't realize it was because of Rick Prime, obviously. Also, I don't know what a community tag sale is. They head to Rick's very modern house where we meet his Swedish teacher wife, who immediately realizes Morty is Rick's grandson and also made stew. The house is low detail, no words or jokes in the background, but consistently designed like houses in modern housing magazines. She reminds him to take his meds, and they just establish a really healthy relationship here. Morty undercuts it by asking if she's a fuckbot. Pretty Rick moment there. We also see the cute little kitty for later. The bus station guy tells Jerry where Morty was headed, and we see the whole family came along for the chase. Rick promises to get Morty home, and he pulls a sheet off his desk where there's a box of petri dishes and the portal gun blueprint. The kitty watches him slip his lab coat on before he gives it some good head scritches. During the work montage, we see canister Proto 2, so a big part of it must be containing the fluid safely, which makes sense. We see he's got a machine creating the fluid and moving it into his prototype gun, but it explodes, which his wife just laughs about, as do they. He mixes these different color fluids fluids into the portal green, but it ruins his sandwich, making them share. I truly have no idea if this is supposed to be something specific they're watching. He starts losing his temper more often when they fail. He manages to portal up to a fish dimension of some kind, which is progress. He looks at a picture of Diane while unpacking an old box. He burns one of his wife's paintings and doesn't even react, which is obviously the turning point with them. And it's at this point I honestly do think Morty realizes if Rick can't build the portal gun, he can at least die and get him a way out through the estate sale. I don't think he planned for the whole family to show up and die, but I do think he was fully willing to sacrifice Rick to get home. I mean, he clearly is okay destroying their relationship here, and he knows what he's doing. Like, the darkest line of the season is,
It's the only way I can get home.
Where on God's earth did a 14-year-old boy learn this kind of mind poisoning?
From your husband. Infinitely. It belongs more to me than to you. It belongs more to me than to you.
he knows what he's doing. He just doesn't care, because it's in service of what he wants. It's exactly the point Evil Morty had reached at the end of Season 5, really. But after the montage, she lovingly checks on him again, but he just screams at her. He wants to give up. But Morty, despite even saying how only 2 Ricks ever invented portal travel, tells him he can do it. And look at his face when they cut to that night. He is driving him crazy on purpose, so he'll accidentally kill himself. Meanwhile, the family chokes out the dean at MIT in order to get Rick's address from their records. They recreate the opening scene of the show again, and his wife is worried, but he yells at her and says forget her because there's infinite versions of her out there, completing his Rick arc. They go steal equipment from MIT and a janitor greets him kindly, but without looking, he turns him into a long-necked dog. Rick says,
The problem is morals, Morty. Ethics. I was scared of the gray areas, but now I can live in them.
which is honestly representative of how they all think, but also like, you just turned a nice janitor into a dog. Like, that's not a gray area. He wasn't even trying to stop you. I love that Morty turned a nice Rick into an abusive one though. Like, intentionally, fully on purpose, because it served his goals, which is just a perfect metaphor. Like, this is Morty completing the arc of becoming basically just like Rick all the way. His wife moves out and Rick thinks he figured the portal gun out, but the edges are clearly feathered, so that's not normal. We can also see his multiverse box down here, reminding us that he knew this wasn't good for him. But before they can go through the portal, the family shows up to take Morty home, and Jerry says the portal can't be safe. So Rick throws his cat in to prove it, but it comes back skinned. Jerry fires at Rick but misses, and they tussle. Beth pulls her gun on Rick too, but closes her eyes before shooting and winds up hitting the portal, which I guess is not good because it starts sucking everything in and spitting out flesh versions. Jerry manages to shoot Rick and the portal finally explodes, slicing Summer in half. Rick shoots a portal into Jerry's gut to the fish dimension, presumably draining his blood and guts into that dimension and killing him. Finally, Beth, horrified, takes her own life in front of Morty before the cat crawls up and dies next to him. He collapses to his knees but shows no emotion. I do think he was willing to let Rick die, but I don't think he meant for everyone else to die like that too. And then estate sale Rick portals in, announcing the sale. It's the same crowd as before, except for these two and the seahorse Rick and Morty. Our Rick portals in and says there's nothing good here, so they should go home. Sunglasses Morty shows up with some Cracker Jacks and says he looks like shit, so Morty shoots him with a long-necked dog gun without looking. Very Rick or Evil Morty or whatever. Point is, he's arced out. Rick portals them home and they immediately show the pool to ensure us it's actually home, and Jerry gets back in his new Madman outfit to confirm it even more. So while I know there's a portion of you who can't help yourselves and will insist this isn't the real universe they came back to, they are putting the effort in to reassure us here. And yes, I understand infinity means there could be similar ones, but this show doesn't treat infinity like that, and it's still a show. They want to have consistent characters. Anyways, Morty sits numbed out in his room like the first time he switched dimensions, or any other time he does this, because it's a lot. And that night they recreate the series opening scene again, this time with Rick dragging him onto the motorcycle, saying they're going on a hero's journey, the classic story. He tells him to take the wheel, and in this beautiful moment says,
I'm your fucking dad. It's fucking me, Morty.
Yeah, you're my dad! I'm your son!
You're my son.
Because yeah, at this point he basically is. They don't have the healthiest relationship, but they're both growing and changing each other, and this story was about Morty wanting to find that sort of connection, and he does have it with Rick. But he's also becoming more like Rick than ever. After the credits, we catch up with PB, and I just gotta say, I have no issue with the new Rick and Morty voice actors, but good god is the PB one terrible. Like, it is hard to listen to. If you recall though, sprinkled throughout the series, he lost his wife, went to another dimension to take another version of his wife, she realized it wasn't him, reported it to the government who ran tests on him, and now they've built some kind of interdimensional device to find that dimension's original PB, which is presumably where they disappeared to. I know a lot of people were disappointed thinking Morty was going to invent his own portal travel this episode, but I like this ending, and I don't think that door is closed. They have been focused on their relationship this season, so it was a good ending in my opinion. Would have been nice to get another Evil Morty episode, but I guess we're waiting potentially 2 whole years before we get that now. This episode has super strong early ratings though, marking this as a perfect game of a season, 10 for 10. This is by far my favorite since season 3 at least. And there's actually a lot more I've noticed for each episode, as well as details that have been pointed out in the comments that I'm going to be putting together into their own video like I did the last couple seasons. But this time I think I'll do it one episode at a time, so keep an eye out for those, and if you have any details to add, make sure to drop them in the comments. I'm also working on the President Curtis premiere breakdown, which should be out tomorrow, so don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Season 9, baby. Only an indefinite number more.